Hello, Darren. Darren, my nephew's on the Skype here, so Claire and I want to thank you all for coming here and attending the Shiva Minyan. Thanks to Moy Freifeld for leading the service for us for davening, and a special thanks to our boys Jonathan and Darren and their wife for having been here during this last period with us. In fact, thanks to Aya, my little grandchild, she was here and she really changed the whole picture for us. It's about my younger brother Julian, just 72. Shiva's been an amazing impact on us as mourners, and I want to thank those who encouraged me to have the service, though I'm not required to say Kaddish. The rabbi visited with us and discussed two very important aspects of Shiva. The community rallies around you, and my God, this is an amazing community, really, we are so grateful. It has an amazing impact on the positive redemption and resettling of one's psyche. But by reconnecting and repeating the stories, receiving phenomenal emails from so many people, and reading provided us with only a positive image of my brother that will stay with us forever. Not many of you knew Julian, although I look around here, there are a couple here that knew him from almost from birth, and some who were very intimately involved with him. Past week when Julian died, we read Parsha Yaacov, and nothing is really coincidence. So, he passed during that same week. Yaacov actually prayed that he would have illness before, so he would get his things together and bring his family together and his children. Julian didn't really have that benefit, but on the other hand, he just died very suddenly. I thought I would just tell you about some of the comments that people have made. There's so many, but I'm just going to read part of a eulogy that my nephew Darren wrote, and he ends it by saying, while speaking with some of my friends and family over the past few days about our memories of my dad, a few common traits are clear. We remember his great big smile, his honest, caring eyes, great sense of humour and fun-loving nature. He was very warm and loving, and he would do anything for his family and friends. Dad, I can't thank you enough for everything you have done for me. I thank God for blessing me with the privilege of having you as my father. The lessons you have taught me are invaluable. Everything of value in my life can be traced back to the seed you planted and or nurtured. That's really nice. And then his son Elon, who was at the funeral was on Sunday. And he adds a number of thoughts, including, both of my parents together got a little consumed by what they didn't have. But in fact, we always had a lot and have been extremely blessed. He had a stroke a number of years ago, so that contributed to what was his robust nature previously. He ate too much because he liked it. He smoked too much when he was sick because he liked it. He loved life and he loved enjoying life, and he wants all of those he loves to love and enjoy life. He really was all about that, to life. I'm going to comment about only one other email, but it came from Ilana Silverman, because so many of you know her. Ilana and Julian spent quite a lot of time together in Durban in those earlier years, and she says, makes me very, very sad that he's now gone. I used to go out with him regularly. I didn't. Never a real romance, but we really liked each other. He was such fun to be with in those days. I treasure those happy, warm and lovely memories. He was definitely a big part of my youth. I was very blessed to date super guys, and I was always flattered when he asked me out. Made me cry to read your email to Michael. That's her husband. Okay, so, my brother Julian? Julian, who was irrepressible, who was larger than life, taking on the world in 1967, who did not have to ponder, but was an immediate volunteer to join the IDF at a time when Israel was threatened. And I think Julian may tell us some things, this Julian, about the Michigan and things that they did during that time, because Julian was one of those irrepressible kind of guys who went to the Sinai as well. But Julian was a true Zionist who acted out his Zionism, and he made Aliyah with his wife and young son to make Israel the place for Ilan and the family that would grow. They subsequently emigrated to the US and finally now back in Durban, a place that both Julian and Lynn felt was home. My brother Julian was proud of and loved his family above all. First his immediate family. He was so proud of his 2 boys, and then his 2 brothers, Brian and myself, and our families. And from where? Like 80% or more of the South African Jews, our parents came from Lithuania, met, were married in 1930. For most of their lives they lived in Bloemfontein. What does Ray call it? Bloemenstock or something. When Julian was born, the youngest of 3 boys. Julian was an avid sportsman who excelled at soccer and was a natural in all sports. He always had a ready smile and good word for all, much like my late dad, I was sure. After high school, Julian made his home in Durban, where he first worked for a major company and then a distributor called Game. But Israel was his destination. He left Durban for Savion in about 1975, and his neighbour, Eli, who's here tonight and has known him for 40 years, just happens to be here, and I remember when they were all together. He joined a furniture group called Danish Interiors. Curiously, a guy called Bibi Netanyahu worked a short stint at the store and was Julian's junior. So maybe Julian was a good mentor or not, depending on what your political views are. Life moved on and Julian moved to the US. He was a mixture of being so very happy within himself and yet striving to achieve sometimes the unattainable. Julian loved animals, as does Lynn, and he really found so much peace and tranquility being with their dogs and on occasion other animals, a goat, a donkey, a monkey, a horse, any animal. But animals know rather, and were attracted to Julian's caring and giving nature. And he loved them only less than his sons Elon and Darren and his wife Lynn. Now, I was fortunate to visit with Julian a few months ago and spend time with him. Actually had a meeting there that everybody told me I wasn't supposed to go to, but I did, and that was fortunate. I flew to Durban and I spent some time with him and with Elon and with Lynn. We talked family and history and laughed and joked about the old Bloemfontein saying of Jan Brandt, alles sal reg kom. Of that means everything will be okay, everything will come right. Not enough time, dear brother, never enough time when a younger brother leaves before you. So much more to do together. I miss you, Jules. Thank you so much, all of you, for attending. I want to thank my wife because she's been, as she always was, my partner in good times, in difficult times, and thank you, Poppy. Don't know if anybody wants to say anything. Julian, this is an opportunity for you. They behave like animals down in the Sinai. Yes.
How long do I have?
Well, I don't know. You know, I've got 2 cousins here as well, and I have to acknowledge, you know.
So,
Suzanne and Vanessa are here somewhere.
Oh, well, they don't have the kind of stories I have, I can tell you that right now. So we were in Israel together in 1967, and I didn't know him before then, and we were stationed in the Sinai, a little bit on the West Bank. But I soon came to find out that he was irreverent, irrepressible, and a lot of things I won't say, you know, in front of this, the ladies are here. Anyhow, 2 instances stick out, and these are 2 out of many, many, many instances. So we're in the Sinai, and it's hot. It's June 1967. The war's over, and we've got thousands of prisoners alongside our camp that have been waiting to be repatriated back to Egypt. And he decides that we should go down to the Suez Canal, which is not too far from our base, but we were strictly prohibited from doing that because there were, you know, obviously tensions were still fairly high. So I said, nah, I don't know if we should do this. And he was a few years older than me. So he says, well, I insist, let's do it. So we got a vehicle, and there was a 3rd guy that we were friendly with from Springs, a gentleman by the name of Merrick Levitas, and I said, let's do this. So I got dressed, put on my uniform, grabbed my weapon, and I see him in an orange tracksuit with the yellow with the sort of yellow piping and tennis shoes. I said, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. And our lieutenant, who's in charge of our base, said, you're not going down to Suez Canal dressed like that. He says, I'm going. So we go down to Suez Canal. He's sitting, there's a picture of this actually. You've seen this picture, right?
Yeah.
So there's a picture of us there. we perched on this what was called then a command.
A pretty
It's like
obvious target.
Yeah, like I'm looking across the Suez Canal. There's chaos on the other side, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, this is not this shouldn't be happening. This is not what we want to do. So I said, you've seen enough. There's the water. Let's go. No. He wants to walk around, and then he says to me, should we fire a few shots? I said, no, you're not firing. We're going back, because he was always shooting. Whatever he saw, he used to shoot at. Okay, well there was nothing going on. So we went back. A few days later, he wakes me up early in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock. He said, let's go for a walk outside. I didn't go for a walk outside. What are you talking about? It was very warm, but it was also very misty. So we go outside, foggy and misty, and you couldn't see very far. All right, we'll do this. Because I was always worried about him. I mean, now I'm younger than he is, but I'm worried about, say, he could do something completely insane. So we grabbed our weapons and we were walking down one of the roads next to the camp. Then I said, you got to be careful not to stray off the side, because there are landmines still all over the place. So we just got to stay on the road. And in the very distance, we hear a voice, and a guy sort of singing. And I said, oh, there was a guy with us who was a captain in the Canadian Army. And I said, I'm sure I don't remember his name, whoever that is. And he said to me, well, how do you know? I said, well, just listen to, he says, no, I think it could be somebody coming to harm. I said, I'm going to shoot him. I said, no, you are not going to shoot him, because I'm going to shoot you. You are not going to shoot him. He raises his weapon. I said, no, you put that weapon down right now. And I had the military training. He hadn't had any military training. I said, you put that weapon down right now. And this captain walks out and says he was out for a morning stroll, and Julian Elman was going to shoot him during his morning stroll. And then I'll tell you one final story. We were on our way somewhere, I don't remember where. There was a camp called Birgafkafa. And we were at this camp, and we were sitting in a tent having breakfast, and the sides of the tent were rolled up. And 2 Egyptian bombers came over, 2 Sukhoi 7 bombers came over, to either on a reconnaissance flight, or they were intending to drop their bombs. And everybody was scrambling and running for the bomb shelters. Well, they were really bomb shelters, just behind sandbags. Julian Elman is with his orange, yellow piping tracksuit again, and he strolls out, and he's looking, and these planes are circling the base, I don't know, at a few hundred feet, and the commander is yelling at him and saying, get down, and the next thing, the 2 planes are shot down by Israeli missiles. But that's the kind of guy he was. I mean, he was really, and that was in the desert. But when we get to the town, when we got back to Tel Aviv, that was a whole different story. But anyhow, he
didn't shoot anybody.
No, he did other things, but didn't shoot anybody. So sure, he was, I'll miss him a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know if Ellie wants to say anything. Ellie really knows Julian from the Savion days. Ellie, do you want to comment? I'm really not to call on anybody. Don't if you don't want to.
Interesting story, but then I knew all that about Julian. But we lived in Israel, and one day a South African family showed up next door to us, Julian and Lynn, and we lived together next door to each other for about 4 years before they went to South Africa and then to Port Lauderdale. Ilan, because it was so nice to have such a nice family with us, we opened the fence between the 2 houses. And Ilan used to crawl from his house to our house and basically live at our place until my wife would chase him back and say, have your home, mother. 1979, they went back to South Africa, but then to Fort Lauderdale. We visited them at Fort Lauderdale, spent some good time together. They went, in 81, we left Israel, went to South Africa. We have lost contact for a number of years, even though we were in contact in ways of other ways. And then we came to live in the United States in 1981, and also 86. And Julian and Lynn were in Fort Lauderdale, we came to San Diego, and we rekindled our friendship and probably spent at least 1 or 2 evenings a week together. So when I heard the news on Thursday, it was a shock. 40 years have gone by, and the person is gone. So it's with a heavy heart.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else want to comment? Thank you.
Thank you for coming, everybody.
Sorry?
Thank you for coming.
My wife says thank you for coming. But really, thank you. Seriously, it means a lot to us that you're all here. And Darren, my boy, wish you long life and hope we'll see you soon.